President Biden is arriving for the G20 summit in India this morning. He is set to land in the next 2 hours. China's Xi Jinping and Russia's Vladimir Putin are skipping the gathering. China's premier will be there, but the White House says that Biden has no plans to meet with them. Joining me now is Florida Congressman Cory Mills. He's a member of the Armed Services and Foreign Affairs committees, and he has served our country. Congressman, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, good. How are you feeling about what President Biden is stepping into in India? Obviously, the Chinese are a threat. The Russians are a threat. How is he doing so far, in your opinion, on the world stage?
Well, unfortunately, he's done terrible on the world stage with trying to continue to build strong alliance, with trying to hold adversaries like China and Russia accountable. We're seeing where both China and Russia has refused to come to the G20 summit to look at developing nations, where India is trying to take a much broader role on the world stage as a developer of developing nations and a supporter of, kind of this conduit, if you will, between the West and Russia. But at the same token, his mistakes and continual misunderstanding of foreign policy is what's driving India towards BRICS, with the Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa alliance. And so, India plays a very key role here, not only just from an industrial perspective and from a trade perspective, but also the Indian Ocean plays a key element for China if they were to invade Taiwan, when 70+% of their oil and their actual energy comes through that area. So how Biden responds in India, how this G20 summit meeting goes, could determine outcomes for future when it comes to trade partners, alliances, developing nations, and whether or not people still see America as a world leader, or they start creeping more and more towards Russia and China, as they have been since he's taken office.
It'll be interesting to see if the president has a strong tone or not. I can, have a prediction here, but how firm is he going to be in saying that, the allies at the G20, our allies, need to stick together? I do want to ask you about these comments coming from Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. She landed ahead of President Biden. Here's what she said about Ukraine yesterday. Listen.
I'm pleased that there has been bipartisan support in both houses of Congress for Ukraine, and I feel confident that we'll be able to make sure that we have funding. We continue to stand behind Ukraine for as long as is necessary.
Oh, I want to ask you about the funding, Congressman, because Secretary of State Blinken made a surprise visit to Kyiv this week. He announced $1 billion in additional aid to Ukraine. You're pushing for a clean supplemental bill for disaster relief funding that is not linked to any funding for Ukraine. You're in Florida. Obviously, this is important to you and your constituents. So tell us more, please.
Well, at the end of the day, what we need to be looking at is the America First agenda. We need to be identifying the fact that disaster relief funding, whether it would be for those in Maui or whether it be here in the state of Florida or otherwise, should be prioritizing Florida, Maui, and not Ukraine. We need to be able to understand that we have to separate those types of fundings, because I'm not in favor of continuing to try and do status quo of a blank checkbook to Ukraine, when we've seen that this has been mishandled since the very beginning of 2014, when it was then Vice President Biden couldn't acknowledge that the 94 Budapest Memorandum international treaty was being violated and take the appropriate actions on the international stage to gain support, not try and take it alone and put the burden on the American taxpayers. And so this continual interventionism, this continued misunderstanding of foreign policy, and the inability for us to start prioritizing America without linking foreign aid, to me, is a continual mistake that America and Congress has to change.
Well, Congressman, I do want to ask you about what's happening next week. Obviously, House lawmakers are coming back to the Hill, back to work. What can we expect to see next week? Because we have budget issues that have to be addressed in the House, of course. You're running the purse strings.
Well, the biggest issue is that we have to start addressing the at-home domestic problems. The first and key one being securing our borders, where we've now had over 7 million plus illegals come across during this time in Joe Biden. You even had New York City Mayor Adams, who, was such big ideas on being a sanctuary city, now taking back those statements after 100,000 people's now come and moved in. So we have to start looking at border security. We have to start looking at a stronger economy. We have to stop this kind of continue a blank checkbook for foreign aid while not prioritizing America. We have to look at American energy. The Senate needs to take up H.R. 1, the Lower Cost Energy Act. We have to start looking at H.R. 2, our Secure the Border Act, H.R. 5, our Parental Rights Bill to protect our parents. Again, I'm not here. I'm a father of two. I'm not here to co-parent with the government, and neither is any other Americans. And so we have to get back to that America First agenda that we were on under the Trump administration. And I think that's the key thing for this upcoming session.
Keeping focus on the border is a big one, but that spending fight, I think, it might make the markets uncomfortable. We'll see. Todd Pyro from Fox News on set with me here.
Congressman, besides the agenda items, we have individuals ranging from Mayorakas to Garland to one President Joe Biden. Should we expect anything in the impeachment realm with one or all three of them between now and Christmas?
Well, I certainly support impeachment of not only Secretary Mayorakas for his failure to secure our border and keep Americans safe. It's a dereliction of duty, but also for Merrick Garland, who has weaponized our DOJ under the probably the behest of the President Joe Biden. I think when you look at whether it's the FD 1023 or other things within the Biden crime family, I think that it's very obvious that President Biden is corrupt and that he is actually compromised. And so I support impeachment removal of every one of the officers. And again, not because this is a partisan issue, but because we must bring confidence back to the American people that there's not a two-tier justice system, that we won't continue to allow the swamp to have its corruption and its, process of weaponization against the American people. We have to show real action, because if not, you don't deserve to be the majority and deserve to govern.
Congressman Cory Mills, it's always great to see you on the program. As always, I thank you for your service, and we'll see you in Washington next week.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right, you too.